Beneath the murky waters off India's western coast lies a secret that could rewrite history. Let me take you back to 2001. The Gulf of Khambhat stretches along India's western coastline between Gujarat and Maharashtra. It's a place where the Narmada and Tapti rivers meet the Arabian Sea, creating a complex underwater landscape that has remained largely unexplored until now. India's National Institute of Ocean Technology was conducting routine pollution studies when their sonar equipment detected something impossible: geometric patterns on the sea floor, structures that appeared unmistakably artificial. What they found defied every assumption about the history of human civilization in this region. The sonar imagery revealed a vast underwater complex spanning over 9 kilometers. We're talking about organized city blocks, geometric structures arranged in perfect grids, massive stone foundations, and what appeared to be sophisticated urban planning. But here's where it gets truly extraordinary. Carbon dating of organic materials recovered from the site suggested these structures could be up to 9,000 years old. Let that sink in for a moment. 9,000 years old. If accurate, this discovery doesn't just predate the Indus Valley civilization. It obliterates our understanding of when and where complex urban societies first emerged. The artifacts recovered paint a picture of a sophisticated culture. Pottery shards, tools, ornaments, and most intriguingly, what appear to be fossilized human remains and teeth. Each piece of evidence pointing to the same impossible conclusion. Someone built a city here when mainstream archaeology tells us such civilizations simply didn't exist. When the initial findings were announced, archaeologists around the world were stunned. Dr. S.R. Rao, one of India's most respected marine archaeologists, didn't mince words. This could predate the Indus Valley by 4,000 years. Think about what this means. The Indus Valley civilization, with its sophisticated cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, has long been considered one of humanity's earliest urban civilizations, dating to around 2500 BCE. But if the Gulf of Khambhat site is genuine, we're looking at urban planning and construction techniques that existed when mainstream archaeology insists our ancestors were still hunter-gatherers living in scattered tribes. But here's where the story takes a familiar turn. Almost immediately, the mainstream archaeological establishment began pushing back. Not enough evidence, they said. Need more study, they insisted. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, they demanded. Sound familiar? It's the same response we've seen to every discovery that challenges the orthodox timeline of human development. The same institutional resistance that has greeted findings at Göbekli Tepe. The same skepticism that surrounds underwater monuments from Japan to the Mediterranean. But here's the question that keeps me awake at night. If this discovery is real, and the evidence suggests it very well might be, then who built it? What advanced civilization possessed the knowledge, the organization, and the technology to construct a planned city 9,000 years ago? And perhaps more importantly, what happened to them? What happened next is perhaps the most telling part of this entire story. Despite the potentially world-changing implications of the Gulf of Khambhat discovery, it virtually disappeared from mainstream media coverage. One moment we had headlines about a discovery that could rewrite history, and the next, silence. This isn't an accident, my friends. This is a pattern I've observed throughout my decades of research into humanity's hidden past. Whenever archaeological evidence emerges that threatens to upset the carefully constructed narrative of human development, it faces a wall of institutional resistance that would make a medieval fortress jealous. Consider the parallels. When Klaus Schmidt began excavating Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, revealing a complex of megalithic temples dating back 11,000 years, the archaeological establishment initially dismissed it as impossible. How could hunter-gatherers have built such sophisticated structures? It took decades for mainstream archaeology to grudgingly accept what the evidence clearly showed. Or look at the Yonaguni monument off the coast of Japan, massive stone structures that appear to be artificial, yet lie beneath waters that have been submerged for over 10,000 years. Despite compelling evidence of human construction, mainstream archaeology continues to insist these are natural formations, refusing to seriously consider the implications. The pattern is always the same: discovery, initial excitement, then systematic suppression through academic gatekeeping, funding restrictions, and media silence. It's as if there's an unspoken agreement to maintain the orthodox timeline of human civilization at all costs. But why? What's so threatening about the possibility that human civilization is older and more sophisticated than we've been taught? The answer, I believe, lies in the fundamental challenge these discoveries pose to our understanding of who we are and where we came from. To understand the true significance of the Gulf of Khambhat discovery, we need to step back and look at the bigger picture. We need to examine the flood myths that appear in cultures around the world, the geological evidence of massive climate change at the end of the last ice age, and the growing body of archaeological evidence pointing to advanced civilizations that existed before the dawn of recorded history. Ancient Indian texts speak of great floods that destroyed entire civilizations. The Matsya Purana describes how Vishnu, in the form of a fish, saved humanity from a world-destroying deluge. The Shatapatha Brahmana tells of Manu, the first man, who built a great ship to survive the flood that covered the earth. These aren't just stories, my friends, they're memories, cultural memories of real events that shaped the course of human history. And they're not unique to India. From Sumerian accounts of Utnapishtim to Plato's description of Atlantis, from Native American flood legends to Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories, cultures around the world preserve remarkably similar accounts of a great cataclysm that destroyed an earlier civilization. The geological evidence supports these ancient memories. Around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the Younger Dryas period, the Earth experienced rapid climate change on a scale that's difficult to comprehend. Massive ice sheets melted, sea levels rose by hundreds of feet, and vast coastal areas where human populations would naturally have concentrated, were submerged beneath the waves. If advanced civilizations existed during the Ice Age, their remains would now lie beneath hundreds of feet of water. Cities like the one potentially discovered in the Gulf of Khambhat would be exactly what we'd expect to find. The drowned remnants of a lost world, preserved beneath the sea like time capsules waiting to tell their story. The more I research discoveries like the Gulf of Khambhat site, the more convinced I become that we're dealing with fragments of a lost chapter in human history. A chapter that's been systematically erased from our collective memory, not by time alone, but by the deliberate actions of those who benefit from maintaining the orthodox narrative. Consider the evidence that's already emerged from underwater archaeological sites around the world. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar has detected what appear to be massive stone structures at depths that would require them to be thousands of years old. Near the Bahamas, the Bimini Road presents geometric stone formations that many believe are artificial. In the Mediterranean, entire cities have been discovered beneath the waves, their origins pushing back the timeline of human civilization. Each discovery is met with the same response: skepticism, demands for more evidence, and ultimately, academic silence. It's as if there's a coordinated effort to ensure that any evidence challenging the orthodox timeline of human development is marginalized, underfunded, and forgotten. But why would anyone want to suppress evidence of advanced ancient civilizations? The answer, I believe, lies in the implications such discoveries have for our understanding of human potential and our place in history. If our ancestors achieved levels of sophistication that rival or exceed our own, what does that say about the myth of linear progress that underpins our modern worldview? The Gulf of Khambhat discovery represents more than just an archaeological anomaly. It's a window into a lost world, a civilization that achieved remarkable things and then vanished beneath the waves, leaving only tantalizing clues for us to discover. But those clues are enough to suggest that the story of human civilization is far more complex, far more ancient, and far more extraordinary than we've been led to believe. As I stand here today, looking at the evidence from the Gulf of Khambhat and countless other sites around the world, I'm forced to confront some uncomfortable questions. Questions that challenge not just our understanding of the past, but our assumptions about the present and future. If the structures beneath the Gulf of Khambhat are indeed 9,000 years old, then we're looking at evidence of urban planning, sophisticated construction techniques, and complex social organization that predates anything in the orthodox historical record. We're looking at proof that our ancestors were capable of achievements that mainstream archaeology insists were impossible. But here's what really keeps me up at night. If such advanced civilizations existed in the past, and if they were destroyed by natural catastrophes, what does that tell us about our own vulnerability? What does it say about the cyclical nature of human development, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the fragility of everything we've built? The silence surrounding the Gulf of Khambhat discovery isn't just about protecting academic careers or maintaining funding streams. It's about protecting a worldview that sees human civilization as a steady march of progress from primitive beginnings to modern sophistication. It's about maintaining the illusion that we are the pinnacle of human achievement, rather than perhaps just the latest chapter in a much longer, more complex story. Did we just find Earth's oldest city? And are we being kept from the truth? What do you think this discovery really means? Comment below.